This, this, this may be the beginning of the end. This may be the beginning of the end. And I'll tell you what, this Epstein story has been going on and on and on. First, it was a nothing burger. Nobody wanted to talk about it. There was nothing going on there. Or originally, Pam Bondi had said that there was something. Okay, and then she said, "I have the list." Everybody got excited about the list. Well, actually, if you go before that, during the election, basically the idea for the Republican, they said, once I become elected, you will know everything. I will release all the information. And got elected. Pam Bondi said, I have the list. I have the list in front of me. I'm going to give you the list. And then they said, you know what? There is no list. And then somehow it kind of withered away. Then there was a bunch of Wall Street Journal articles. And they were kind of all saying that, the president was there. And you said this is a lie. The president read the letter. The president wrote the birthday book or whatever. So basically he denied everything. And frankly, it didn't appear that he had done anything. But he said he didn't. The Wall Street Journal said, well, we didn't say anything. We just said you sent the letter. You were basically on this thing. But the point is, what has happened since then is they've gotten Maxwell to talk. She's been talking, and what has she said? Basically, Maxwell said, I didn't do anything. The president didn't do anything. Prince Charles didn't do anything. No one did anything. And she basically lied. Not so much that she said that these people didn't do anything and they did something. None of that. She said that she was not involved in anything. But yet, she got 20 years for something. So right there is a lie. What's interesting is why didn't the government, the DOJ actually prosecuting her, because even though she had immunity, she doesn't have immunity for lying. Okay, she doesn't have immunity for lying. So please don't do that. But she lied because she said that she had not. She was just paid for services, but services because she was helping him and she was working with him and she was making money with him. He was lending her money, but she didn't do any other thing that they said. It's a big misunderstanding. She got 20 years for nothing. So she lied. It's either she did or she didn't do it. She got 20 years. Anyway, that's not the point. And since then, the Congress said, I want to know everything. And when they said, I want to know everything, they meant it. Okay? And they start releasing information. In fact, they released the 9 hours, the 9 hours worth of recording. They released everything. And I talked about this in a previous live. Okay? So she released it. And you look at it, you're seeing it, and she's basically saying it's a big misunderstanding. Okay, fine. Now, Congress say, I want to see all these people. And these people are going to be coming to Congress, one by one by one by one. What's new? They just released 33,000 pages. Guess what? It's not much new in there, okay? But that's not the important part. That's not the important part. Basically, what they said is they released about 33,295 pages released by the House Oversight Committee. The only significant new material consists of under 1,000 pages of U.S. custom flight records. They also released some interesting video, which I am going to show you right now. They released some video, as you could see now. Of the house, the Epstein house I believe it was in Florida. So I'll let you take a look at it. As you could see, cops are going in and inspecting the place. Right? They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's happening. But you get to see more. You get to hear that there was a flight log. Bill Clinton logged at least 17 flights between 2002 2003. He said he didn't go to the island, but he went there if he did a flight because he was helping him traveling around the world for his. Anyway, a bunch of people were there as well. Naomi Campbell and Dershowitz, Prince Andrew, lots of people, Kevin Spacey. But there's no incrimination of criminality. That's not the important part. The important part is this. Basically, what's happening is there's a dissident Republican challenging. They say no. This is nothing. You're just showing us nothing. You're showing us what everybody knows already. We want to see more. And this is a Republican. And what you have, it's a Republican Thomas Massie. And what you're seeing the Republican, I wouldn't say splitting, but there's little pieces coming off the side now, right? They're coming off the side because this guy, there's been a pain in the president's, you know what, and he wants to see more information, right? Congress is back, and he's trying to wrestle away the hold that the president has on Congress to release that information. Not that he doesn't want any information released. They're releasing lots of information, but this particular Republican is saying it's not enough, right? He's from Kentucky, and there was even a Democratic candidate, kind of California, and they're collecting signature from house makers in an effort, and listen to this, in an effort to force a vote compelling the Justice Department to turn over its Epstein documents, saying document released so far have been insufficient. And I made a point in the past that, it's a show, right? Let's bring these people in. Let's have them talk. You want them to talk, so they're going to have to talk. You want to see, here's documents. Here's a video. I'm showing you a video right now of basically, it's interesting for gawking purposes, I guess. This is what it looks like. Let's see if it's any. It gives you a feel. There's some interesting pictures, I have to say, and then some interesting artwork. Anyway, but apart from that, he said, okay, but that's not enough. And there are also the victims are coming up also. They're coming out, and they're saying we want to see it as well. Now you lost control of the process. Okay, and so what's happening with Massie is that he wants a discharge petition, and he needs the backing of 218 lawmakers, including at least 6 Republicans, assuming all Democrats sign on, which they will, obviously. As of Wednesday afternoon, there were only 4 GOP signatures. Those of Massie, Taylor Greene of Georgia, all the MAGA people, basically. Some guy from Colorado and South Carolina. And of course, he's saying it's a shame that we're calling this an hoax. This is not a hoax, okay? They are real victims to this criminal enterprise, and the perpetrators are being protected because they are rich and powerful, which is exactly the original thoughts that they had, right? This idea that we need to know what's going on, the idea that we need to see what is happening with this, right? They want to know everything. Now they're pissed. They're saying, listen, this. I told you that a while back that. There was nothing going on, but I told you that originally. They're not really seeing anything, right? They're not doing much of anything. But now they're saying we want to see it, right? You're not showing us anything. Show me what is going on. Show me literally show me the money. And I think at the end of the day. It's a problem. So what I want to see is what they're doing. Okay, so what are they asking for? Okay, these basically that several of the women that were upset that Maxwell had been recently transferred to lower security prison and worried that she might be offered a pardon. So not only at the end of the day they didn't tell you anything, right? Lots of information. You haven't been told. We want to know. Well, here's the documents, but you're not showing us anything. You show us a bunch of videos. You're showing us you're going to bring a bunch of people in Congress, but frankly, Bill Clinton, okay, fine. Hillary Clinton, okay, fine. And a bunch of other people. But apart from one person, I would say that there's one person that I think that we want to hear about, right? Is Acosta. He's the guy that basically let Epstein go, more or less, a couple of years ago, and he's relevant because and what's interesting is the only one that's going to be he's going to be to Congress, but he's going to be the only one that's actually going to be public, right? And it's happening. When are they doing this? They're doing Acosta, and you want to listen to that one. This is September 19th. September 19th, you want to hear what he has to say because they're going to ask you, well, what happened? And it's relevant. We'll tell you why Acosta is relevant. But before that, let me finish my thoughts. Is that so? This Massey guy, the Republican, he wants to have everything released, but he needs 218 lawmakers, including at least 6 Republicans. And so far, he's got himself about 4, including himself. And several other women have come out also. That's the second thing which is important. And then GOP leaders have worked to block this measure. The GOP leaders, Republicans, have said, well, come on, no. Because he's saying there's progress made so far in making the material public. They didn't say, I don't think they said, give us a pile of documents. What they said was, we want to know what happened. Release the information. We said, we're releasing the information. Yeah, but there's nothing in there you're showing us. And then this Maxwell said that nothing happened. So it's like a big misunderstanding, right? So now it's going to the next level, out of control. Within the Republican Party, they said, I want to see everything. And I want to release. And now they're fighting with each other, or at least they are coercing this, saying, well, you're asking for too much. And obviously the president keeps saying this is a hoax. And we should, and in a way, it's very tough for him because he's trying to get all these issues going through the pipeline. And now this situation is sucking the air of the room. Okay. Literally sucking the air of the room, and he's not able to get the attention that he needs because they keep bringing up the Epstein. In fact, today he was meeting the Polish president, and somebody asked that question again. He said, "Why we keep talking about this guy? It's a hoax." He repeated again today, which Massey said it's not a hoax. A bunch of people have suffered. In fact, some women came out and they met behind closed doors, and it was sad or whatever. But it was a tough call. So they have worked to block his measure. And Trump has been trying to stop him from being reelected. So he doesn't like that guy very much. So obviously something is going on there. Now, you want to hear about Alex Acosta because during the 2007 non-prosecutorial deal, the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of Florida, Acosta, at that time approved a controversial plea deal with Epstein, right? And basically gave him 13 months in jail. He was granted extensive work release privileges. And in exchange, federal prosecutor agreed not to pursue federal sex trafficking charges. The agreement also provided immunity to Epstein, and this is the interesting part, to his co-conspirators, which were never named. So you forgive a bunch of people that were never mentioned. And the critics argue that it shielded Ghislaine Maxwell and others from accountability. Now, the reason it didn't work out is because the deal was kept secret from the Epstein victims, a direct violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act, that clause was thrown out. So they want to see him now because they want to know why you approved such a lenient deal. Right? Critics say it's a more glaring example of justice system failure in a high-profile sex trafficking case. His testimony could shed light on who benefited from the immunity clauses. So we might be seeing right now the beginning of the end, the beginning of the cracks. You've got one crack in the government's approach right now, having to do with the tariffs, right? Because the Supreme Court is saying, the Court of Appeals is saying that the tariffs are not legal. It's a crack because they could look for other tariffs. But at the same time, now you have this, where you have a Republican themselves that want to release everything, and some other Republicans are saying, no, there's no reason, there's enough information. And everybody kind of see that, but you're really seeing 33,000, and I grab one of those video from that you're seeing right now. We released 33,000 pages of not much of anything, really. There's also a video of his jail, and so the people could see it. So, yeah, see it, look at it. And then what? So, with that small crack, not a big one, but it could become wider. And remember what I told you in my lives earlier is, this whole edifice that the government is trying to build, and they've been more or less successful so far, even though they pug and tug and they coerce and they made lots of money, but the economy is doing great, the stock market is doing great, they're going to collect $300 billion to pay, that goes directly to the treasury, but now the chicken might be coming home to roost, and you have to be careful. Because if you lose the power of the MAGA, if you lose the power, if you lose Congress, if you lose the ability to basically get those tariffs done the way you wanted them to get done, then everything starts to collapse, because now people are going to say, listen, I am not going to, if you're Europe, what am I negotiating with you for? I should be talking to Congress, because obviously you're saying things that you can't hold on to. So then the whole house of cards starts to collapse just in time for the midterms. So, and obviously the Democrats are waiting. Now for you, my subscribers and my members, you need to understand that could have impact on the stock market. That could have impact on the economy, believe it or not. Right, because now the whole thing is shaky, and this has nothing to do with the economy, right? I mean, the economy is people are spending money. The economy is it's not, it's fine. I mean, it's 4% growth. Everything is just, the inflation seems to be under control. They're going to lower the rates, and that's why the president was saying, can we move on to something else? Let's not talk about this anymore. And obviously, if you want, it's politics, right? If you want to get in the middle of this thing, you want to find a crack, and then they're finding it. Don't forget, this guy Massey, a Republican, he needs 6 Republicans to act, and of course all of the Democrats, to force everything to be released. That's a major thing. And what's happening is, many Republicans are saying no, because obviously, they're with Trump, right? Now, why he doesn't want it to be released? That's I think the reason is it's nothing to be gained, quite frankly, right? We're trying to make deals here, and we're going to rehash an old story where there's nothing to be seen, but it doesn't matter because it's self-fulfilling. And is destructive, and meanwhile, he's trying to deal with China and Russia and India and the tariffs, and you can't do that if you have to worry about maybe one of the people that's close to him. That's a problem. You can't hear me? Hello? What do you mean you can't hear me? 4% GDP. The US has 4% GDP right now. This country has 4% GDP. Let me check my sound here. Hold on. Stay with me here. Why is it that you can't hear me? Testing. Why is what the heck? No, we have 4% GDP in this country. Hold on. Give me a second here. What's going on with the sound? What is going on with the sound? Testing. So no, the GDP. No, the US has the. Oh, fine. The GDP of the US is 4%. It is 4%. All right, I don't know what's going on, but I'm fine. Okay. No. What country are you talking about? The US has. I'm sorry, not 4%. 3.3%. The latest on GDP was 3.3%. Okay. So what are we saying? What we're saying right now is with the Acosta situation is extremely important because the deal was kept secret from the victims, and apart from this guy, apart from the Acosta guy, I'm not so sure what it is that that's going to be new, unless we're able to get more information from the other guys, right? But there's no one else. Who is there? Bill Clinton? Well, maybe he was on the plane, but and don't forget, no one is ever going to go to jail based on what's happening on Congress. I know that. You know that too. It was Julian. It was upgraded to 3.3%. Double check. But the point is that it is, the country is doing fine. The country is doing fine right now. The thing is, it's going forward that you need to worry about. It's going forward. You need to worry about the future. And this case, right? This thing that keeps coming back. And maybe there's, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to believe that Epstein knew a lot of people. A lot of people went to look how beautiful this is. Look at this. This was in the house in Florida. I mean, it was a pad. You could do. You had a fantastic time, leisure time, great time. Some videos that you could see, you mean that no one and he made so much money, millions of dollars, and somehow it was all done. I mean, think of it this way: the former head of Apollo, right, gave him a $30 million loan, which he forgave. Paid him, I don't know how many millions to manage his money. And even the Apollo themselves went and said, that's a lot of money. You give him a lot of money. Yeah, but I mean, I'm a billionaire. Basically, the board of Apollo asked him. They never released the real. No, and that's the real files. I don't know how many files they are, but that's the files that Congress wants to see. And not Congress, not that Congress. The other people from Congress. This new request that's coming out of the GOP. Right, it's coming out of GOP right now, and basically we call them the dissident Republicans. They're challenging the hold that the president has on the GOP-led Congress. Now, from a purely analytical point of view, you're going to say, well, I mean, then there's a crack in the system here, because if who is in there? You've got Taylor Greene in there, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, Nancy Mace from South Carolina. You got some MAGA people in there. And Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't too happy when the president went out to he gave those weapons to Ukraine, or he sold them. He sold them. Okay, fine. And when he started this thing with the Iranian, she wasn't particularly happy. The MAGA people, that is not what they want. And then now you potentially offering security guarantees to Ukraine, and now you're saying release, but we're not seeing anything. We're seeing a bunch of paperwork. They want to see what is going on. They want to know. But obviously, then some of the Republicans don't. And like I said before, it's hard to believe that out of all these people, no one is aware of what's going on. Are you telling me that no one actually knows what's going on? No one's seen it? There's nothing happening? There's nothing to see? Like I was saying before, regarding the situation with his previous guy, that the one that at Apollo. That's a problem. Let me see if I could find a story for you. But basically, he got involved into some interesting stuff with them. We'll see what happened. But I think, purely analyzing this situation, some people probably don't want, and there's lots of people went to these parties, and they don't want it to come out too much. But I don't think that's a real reason. I think that if you're from a purely political standpoint, you don't want, right? Let's move on. Because if you're not moving on, you're letting, if you're Republican, you're letting the Democrats in the House, literally. And so you're kind of saying, no, I'm not doing that. I'll release everything and then let's move on. No, we can't move on because some of the women haven't been heard. A lot of stuff is still unsettling. Don't forget that the head of Limited, for example, gave Epstein total control over his money, power of attorney, and he was another billionaire. I mean, unless he's minting gold, right? Unless he's minting gold, he was very valuable. When Comer was told that 97% of the released files were not just released, said he was 30% more than the Democrats released. We got the watered down list we will never see. Well, right? I think that you will see. Then they have to do it quickly because the longer, this is already September, don't forget, the congressional testimonies are going to last until, let me see. They started already, and they're going to last until October 14th. Bill Clinton, the last one. Of course, all behind closed doors. You're not going to hear any of it. The only thing that you're going to see and here is the one with Alexa Acosta, which is good. Nothing wrong with that one. That should be a good one. And I think what's going on is the Republicans. I don't know if they have something to hide as much as they want to put it to bed, because it's just a minefield, right? All you need is one or two Republicans show up in the wrong light, and again, nobody goes to jail. It's just that it's very disturbing. There's lots of information. It gets confusing. People are going to assume, and then you're going to have to spend time focusing on that. And that's kind of what the president was saying today. Why are we keep talking about this? Unfortunately, the more he says that, and the more it says it, and the more it says it's a hoax, then it looks like he's guilty. But Maxwell says that he's not. But then again, she also said that this was a misunderstanding. She had nothing to do with anything. So, right? It's confusing. But you have to be careful, because apart from the entertainment nature of this, because this channel is about, what are the risks to the system, essentially. Let's find this. Let's find out about this this black swan. What's lurking in the back? What's going to be a problem for us? Where are we going to have a situation? That one could turn into something. That one could become a problem, because if not so much that you're going to find something, but it's going to suck the air away from the Republicans, and all the Democrats has to say, you see, they're hiding something, right? And then you have to defend yourself, so you're in the defensive all the time. The thing with the White House, they're already in. They have nothing to lose at this point, right? They want to get the thing done that they said they were going to get done, and the Republicans will ride that coattail if it gets done. But if you're losing the tariffs, then you're losing public opinion. I mean, you're not losing the stock market. You're not losing the economy. Inflation is under control. You almost have it under control. It's almost incredible. It was like at the time of COVID, right? Everything was doing great until COVID hits, and then the Republicans just went sideways. Okay. Then the COVID, and then all the things that came with COVID, and the vaccine and all that, and the way you reacted with all of the, drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever, it went out of control. It feels feels a lot like that right now, right? It feels that they're losing control. It's very early, but mark my words, because when I saw the first release, I said, but there's nothing in this thing, right? Now, keep in mind that there is something, because at the end of the day, Epstein was involved with some very big people. And of course, you're not going to hear from them because they're retired, the billionaires we're talking about. And they were very, very, very helpful to him. And they gave him money, and they forgave him money, and they left, and they left the board. They didn't want to talk about it anymore. They gave him a lot of money, lots and lots of money, but he said for service rendered. He was a good financial advisor. Okay. Now, these people you're not seeing. The CEO of the Limited, and you're not seeing the CEO of Apollo. You're not seeing that. Right? You're going to see Bill Clinton as usual, but that's not going to... What is he going to say? I was not on the plane. He's going to say, yes, you were. No, I wasn't. And that's it. He can't go to jail for that. I don't think that many people go to jail because they say something to Congress. Thank you so much. As so little is being exposed so truthfully. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. But that in itself tells you something. Right? Because don't forget, you have the whole Congress. Instead of making laws, what are they doing? They want to release this thing with this guy that died and this woman that went to jail. And they want to release information. They're rehashing. So that energy that you could be spending on, voting some laws, right? Leslie, need all the Epstein file. And that's exactly what this guy, this congressman, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, that's what he's saying. He's challenging the hold of the GOP-led Congress by Donald Trump, and he says, "I want to release everything." Okay, but for him to do that, he's going to need 218 lawmakers. I'm assuming he's going to get all the Democrats to sign up on it. But he still needs 6 Republicans. And so far, as of Wednesday, there were only 4 of the GOP that are willing to sign off on it. That's not many. So a lot of Republicans are staying close to Trump. I mean, it's politics. It's interest, right? Because if it works out, the thing is, what's going to happen is when everything starts collapsing and breaking down, then everybody's going to run for cover. And the victims right now, they are real victims of criminal enterprise, and the perpetrators are being protected because they are rich and powerful. Now, I know this sounds great. The perpetrators are being protected because they are rich and powerful. The last thing you need is them actually finding a bunch of perpetrators, right? Because now you're going to have 4 trials going on top of the midterm coming up for the Republicans. The midterm is for the Republicans to lose, basically. You've got it. Just keep everything tidy. Don't move. Don't shake. Don't cry. Don't spit. Don't do anything. I'll be fine. But if anything happens, you're going to lose it. And that, what's happening right now, is a crack. Because it was one thing to ask, but now you're seeing more and more. In fact, today, if you look at the papers, you're going to see these pictures of these women that are coming out, right? The Epstein's victim told their stories outside the Capitol on Wednesday. They're coming out. So now it's not just, you got to be careful. You deal with the victims. In a press conference organized by Massey, right? He's bringing these women in front, seeking to remind Congress of the nature of the crimes and beseeching lawmakers and Trump to release more governmental files. Release is time for us to see behind the curtain why Jeffrey Epstein was so protected, was still being protected, and who protected them all. One of several women who demanded the release of document. She was introduced to him when she was 14 years old. You mean, so that's it. And now I think the Republicans are losing control. They have documents with my name, and they were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house that could help me put the piece of my life together. And I have not seen those documents, and she wants to see it. Another one, she survived abuse by Epstein and a former girlfriend who said nothing really happened. I don't know what the people are talking about. The only motive for opposing this bill would be for the concealed wrongdoing. See, that's the thing. If you say, I want to move on, or you have something to hide. No, I don't have anything to hide. I have a country to run, right? We have laws to pass. It's a waste of time. Somebody is going to talk to me and say, you got to stop saying that because you look guilty, right? It looks like you have something to hide. And unfortunately, people, and this is what this channel is about, right? I want you to understand what's really going on behind the scene, right? That these people, there's a lot of stuff at play. You had China, and you had India, and you had Russia together, and China was coming up with the tanks and showing how powerful they are. There's some real issue here. You're losing India, basically, not so much because you impose the 50% tariffs. You were losing India last year. It's already happening slowly. It's just because the U.S. wants agricultural access to India, and India is just not going to do it. India cannot do it because 40% of the farmers, 40% of the populations are farmers. They're not going to give up that job. Otherwise Modi is never going to be reelected. There's some real issue. The semiconductor is a problem right now for the U.S. They're losing that race. Most of pharmaceutical products comes from China. There's a real issue that we shouldn't be talking about this thing right now. This is not what can an individual do. There's nothing anybody could do. What you have to do is you have to make sure you understand with this thing, because if this thing goes sideways, then obviously, and on top of that, I think if you lay if this goes sideways and the tariffs go sideways back to back, there's no control, right? Because you lose Congress potentially, right? There's not much margin, by the way. So now, if the Democrats take over, then whatever the whatever the government wants to do, it's going to be no. So now you can't do deals. You can't agree on anything. You can't do tariffs. And I mean, 2 days ago, Pete Navarro, the father of the tariffs, came out and said, if 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 we're not allowed to do those tariffs, what do you say? The country is lost, right? The country is lost. So, and Trump says since 1929. They kind of warning basically the Supreme Court. They're saying, guys, you gotta pass this thing, because if you're not, if you don't, but unfortunately they're not. I could tell you they're not, and it's even more of an incredible coincidence, and they're not because even though most of the 9 judges have been the 9 judges are actually they actually they were put there by the Republicans, believe it or not. Except that, unfortunately, the same way they told no to Biden last year, they're going to say no to him now because there's too much power. You cannot unilaterally say to everyone that these tariffs were emergency. You don't have that kind of power. You got to go back to Congress. And I think they know that. So now what they're doing, they're trying to shift over to the security protection tariffs, right? I don't know if that's going to work, frankly. Concern is obviously that it's very delicate, because if you come across too weak, if you don't say anything, you're guilty. If you say too much, you're guilty as well. Basically, if you're saying, I don't want to talk about it, you want to hide. And if you're saying, stop talking about it, then you're wrong also. You got to be, cannot be too cold. It cannot be too hot. You got to be right in the middle, and that's not something that this administration does well, right? They kind of going it, and it's worked for them so far, right? But yeah, how long is that going to last? I don't know. We shall see. So here's on the Congress. So we're gonna have all these files are gonna come out. And I've looked. It's like 33,000, but there's nothing new. It's just. Now, Alex Acosta is going to be coming to Congress, and that's going to be something you want to see it. And by the way, he's over there at Newsmax right now as a head of audit. I'm not so sure what the job entails. They want to. They're gonna need to do more. So the way I see it. The way I see it is, especially if this new effort goes on the way and they are successful in releasing even more files, then what's going to happen is going to last even longer. And the concern is not so much what you're going to find, right? That's not the concern. There's probably nothing to find. Even if you find something, you're not going to prosecute anyone. No one has ever been prosecuted to go to, and they know that. And this Congressman Manny, what's his name again? He knows that as well. He knows that as well. That nothing could be. What's his name? Thomas Massey. He knows that as well. He knows that nobody's going to go to jail. So they say, what are you doing what you're doing? Well, Trump doesn't like me, first of all, and I want to differentiate myself. And more importantly, because I'm seeing smoke, right? And I'm seeing this thing being shaken. I want to get out before I get roped in with everyone else, right? I want to keep my seat. I'm a MAGA, and MAGA is in charge, right? Hey, Jerry Tubin. MAGA is in charge, and they want to know what's happening. So therefore, they are going to want to keep it going. But the longer it lasts, it depends. It's going to last. So do you want to be ahead of it, or you want to be the one that's pulling back, say stop, 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 stop? You're going to tell these women that they can't see, they can't see more information. They want to vent. And don't forget, you also put Maxwell. There was some sort of deal made where she was able to get a very nice club fed, it's called, where she gets to go and spend a nice time in a nice I don't know if it's a jail, but she's with that lady that did the blood thing. Remember she created this blood machine that was not even a machine, and she made billions of dollars, and she stole the money, and then she went up 10 years in jail. She's with her, so it's a pretty nice area to be in. So you say, okay, so what's going on here? Okay, she got out of the maximum security to a nice deal. She potentially have clemency, because don't forget, I don't think it's going to happen now, but don't forget that Trump also fired Comey's daughter, who prosecuted Epstein, if you believe that. And they think that the reason she got fired, because if there is clemency to be given to Epstein, you don't want her in the middle says, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't do that. This is not right, blah, blah, blah. So they try to basically get her out of the way so she wouldn't talk. We shall see. I do not know. We shall see. But it looks very weird. They can even walk to town at Camp Ryan where Maxwell is. Imagine. So if you look at from outside looking in, you're saying, okay, so basically she talked for 9 hours. She lied for 9 hours. You're not prosecuting her. You can, technically, because even though she has immunity, she was lying. Well, how come you're not? I'm surprised that no one bring this up. Immunity, you have immunity, but you don't have immunity for lying. So if you're lying, then they could go after you, but they're not. And the reason that she lied is because she said that she didn't do anything. The president didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. Even the prince didn't do anything. She got paid because she was doing day trading or whatever. I tried day trading. Trust me, you don't make $30 million just like that. Well, at least you have to really try hard and long time and be lucky, because nobody beats the market consistently. As you know. Anyway, if you join my members, you'll see all my picks as well, because you start to make money. So that's where we are with this thing, and so now they're saying, well, so then she's out. You release like 50 tons of documents. What are we gonna do? It's just paper. There's nothing in it. There's no list. There's no name. There's nobody guilty. So what's the point? Well, you wanted papers. I give you papers. Now you're insulting me. Now you are insulting me. Okay? And now on top of it, you're saying it's a hoax. And on top of it, you're saying that you don't want to release more information. Right? So it's starting to... There's a smell of smoke here. And of course it happens to be at the wrong time, because we are going to have the midterms coming up, right? That's probably not what you want to see right now. You probably don't want to have this in the midterms. 97%, Sammy D says that 97% of the files were already publicly available. Nothing changed. Well, nothing changed in that you didn't get a list of people that did it. But what did happen is the Republicans are actually splitting. I mean, not most of them, but 4 of them wants more information released. 4 of them. And they need 6, and they need 218, and then they're going to release all the information. But not all the Republicans are okay with that. So it would appear there's a split within the Republican Party, which, I mean, the Democrats are loving it. They're just waiting to see this thing self-destruct. They want to see what happened in October 14th. I mean, is the government trying to go after the Supreme Court? But they are mostly put there by Republicans. So if the Supreme Court says no, then my friends, you're done, right? Because now you're not going to get the money for the tariffs, and that's going to be a problem later on. You know, the tariffs are a big thing because you're not collecting money, and that's a concern here. Let's see what else is going on. So let's see what happened. So basically what we have, what day do we have to worry about? So September 15th, that's what you want to see. You want to see look at the bike, right? Look at that bike. He had $500 million when he died. Look at a Mercedes, another Mercedes, 3 Mercedes. Look at the kitchen. Look at the beautiful kitchen. Look at that. They got they have a sub freezer right there on the right. Beautiful thing. They have gourmet kitchen. Look at that. Look at outside the pool. This is in Florida. I think it's Palm Beach. I mean, they film really everything. Okay. All right. So I got more life for you coming up the next couple of days. Stick around. I think it should be interesting. We'll keep following the story.